Hey everyone, welcome to Trailside Chat with Mindy and Jac. I'm Mindy.
I'm Jac.
Today what we want to talk about is the dilemma of feeling a little one-dimensional. Like, you know, you're new to a group or you're new to a place and people don't really know you and just make misconceptions about your character without really diving in.
Mm-hmm.
We both have experience with this and would love to hear a little bit more about what you do maybe as a life icebreaker or something like that, so that you can be your truest self right off the bat.
Yeah.
So tell us what your experience is with this, whether it's personally or someone who you care about that you've seen this happen to.
Yeah, so it's definitely happened to me personally. Mostly in work situations where I am maybe in a place where it's with people who aren't like super active or might like not understand that side of things.
Yeah.
And they might feel either threatened or just kind of don't know how to place you, and then they make these like assumptions about your character that aren't necessarily true. And it's really, if you're by yourself, to be like totally honest, it's just really disconcerting. Like you're kind of like, oh, I don't realize I came off that way, you know what I mean? So usually when that happens, when I was younger or just more inexperienced in work situations, I would feel really bad about it and probably, call my sister or my friends or something and talk about it. Now when I get in that situation, I know who I am, and I really, to be honest, don't care what other people think. But yes, so I would just necessarily, like, if you're having this happen to you and you're trying to combat it, I think it's really always just good to maybe sit with yourself and realize that you know yourself to the truest extent, and what these other people say, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because you're gonna, uphold your values. Mindy, what situation has this?
Yeah, like very similarly in specifically work scenarios. I work with a group of people who are very different than me.
Yeah,
they're lovely people, but we have very different lifestyles, very different perspectives on pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I'm very active and they aren't so much, or do different things. And I'm in a position where I do performance evaluations, and, I tend to internalize a lot of things. So these instances where you feel like your character has been slandered or something, and, I've definitely felt that. So in the last year, I've told you all about these books and podcasts that I listen to all the time. I've listened to a lot of Brene Brown podcasts, and specifically on vulnerability. And I'm constantly listening to leadership books and things like that, because I do care and I do want to be better. And nobody wants to be disliked.
Yeah, no, very true.
And yeah, I'm an intense person, and I have very high expectations of myself. So I inherently hold the people around me to that same level.
Yeah.
So I've found that I need to figure out a way to let go of that, because I'm not going to change how hard somebody else wants to work.
Right.
If all they want to do is status quo all day long and just hit the deadline and clock out and never think about work until they have to clock back in, that's not how I operate, but we're different people.
Right.
So this year when I was doing performance evaluations with my team, I set a goal for myself to kind of get to the bottom of some of this character assassination that sometimes surrounds me. And somebody straight up said, well, you don't work alongside us. You're in the office doing stuff, and so you're just not really one of us. And in the next breath, they're like, we don't know anything about you. Well, how the hell do you think you're going to know anything about me if you don't ask?
Right.
You can't just talk about somebody behind their back if you have some misconception about them. Like, maybe there's a reason that I'm pushing you to think about something strategically.
Yeah.
They've never been pushed to do something that way.
Yeah.
And people generally don't like change.
Right.
So I've experienced a lot of this really kind of crappy feeling driving home from work or driving to work. And then I think about the people who I can be my truest self around.
Right.
And then it's like, no, that's what I live for. Like,
Right.
the people who I don't have to feel guarded around. I don't have to
Right.
feel like I have a filter on, and that makes it so worth it. I mean, unfortunately, you know, we spend so much of our life at work with the same people who sometimes make us feel crappy.
Yeah.
And I think the best advice I have is you have to be your own advocate.
Right.
And, you know, nobody has to be a doormat.
No.
Nobody has to be like a total jerk, but at some point you have to stand up for yourself. All I can do is try to be the best version of myself, and know at the end of the day, I did my best.
Exactly.
But what pisses me off is when, like, my brother will come visit or something, and somebody will be like, oh yeah, well, Mindy, she's so bossy. And he's like, yeah, I know. Like,
you're not.
Damn it, man. You're supposed to be on my side.
I know.
And then when my brother and my husband team up against me, it's like, oh, forget it, you guys. Forget it. I'm done with this.
Yeah, no, I guess when I said I didn't care, I think at a certain point there in my situation specifically, there was nothing I could do to better the situation. I couldn't make them change their perspective, and I wasn't going to change my values. So
nor should you.
Yeah, nor should I. And so I just, you know, at that point it was like, well, I can either be stressed and feel bad about this, or I could just turn that part of my brain off and just go in every day and do the work that needs to get done, and then I get to leave, you know. And that's kind of where I got to that point. But it did take a lot of heartache and a lot of like knowing myself and like thinking about it and talking about it for me to get to that point where it was just like, I really, you're not, what you say or do to me at this point, it bears no, you know, whether I'm gonna have a good day or a bad day, it's just not up to you anymore.
I think that's really great that you could get to that point. I definitely struggle with it. Yeah, but that's really impressive that you were able to do that.
Yeah. It just took somebody really hating me, and then I was just like, okay, you know, it wasn't a good
you, man.
Yeah, it wasn't a good situation that it was in. To be honest, it was just a very like almost toxic work environment, and there was nothing else I could do in that situation, and the person couldn't do anything. I mean, they were on their way out, but it took a lot of really just.
I mean, I've also experienced this in you know, like different friend groups or something.
Yeah, that's even more hurtful to me.
Where you end up feeling just very betrayed, and I did a lot of work to heal from that, and I left a very toxic life behind previously and had to overcome a lot of that. And you know, I had nightmares over like the things that had happened and the people that betrayed me, and you know, chose to not care about me, and instead, like, they just went with the herd mentality instead of actually taking time to care. And that is definitely more hurtful than work scenarios, because that cuts deep.
Yeah, no, it truly does. And like, how did you work out? Like, how did you like grow from that? Or
a lot of therapy.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of yoga.
Yeah.
That you know, goes back to when I moved up here and nuked my entire previous life and all the toxic people in it, and did a lot of crying on my yoga mat and a lot of therapy, and it's all so worth it now, because now I really know how to only choose the people who are really good and like serve a good purpose in my life.
Yeah.
And I don't really hold room for the ones that aren't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
no, that
You learn a lot about yourself.
yeah,
through those
exactly.
trials.
That's very true. Yeah, you grow from it, and yeah, it sucks in the moment. It really does. But yeah, you're so much stronger for it. Like, even what happened with me in my situation, like, I feel so much better walking into a room because I know that I can handle that situation, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I have had like one or two people that perceive me differently walking into a situation, and there was literally nothing I could do. I couldn't make them laugh. I couldn't like do anything to like change the situation. They just had this snap judgment of me as a person, and that was it, you know?
Yep. Been there, done that, girlfriend.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, a little bit of a downer topic. But I think it's so important to talk about things like this that aren't always easy, and I think a lot of us feel this way often, and we don't really know what to do with it. So let us know how we can help, and if you need a little confidence booster, we're here for that.